it's very hard to stay in connection, but people need to hear that's okay. That's fine. Human beings are meant to connect and reconnect. And the beauty is that pattern I talked about earlier about moderate, controllable doses of stress, that creates that's the rhythm that you create over the day if you're with somebody that you're having that positive rupture and repair with, right? You'll sit down, you'll kind of connect about something, and then something will disrupt it. Phone call, work, kid, argument, whatever. Then you come back in, reconnect. Could be just we're good. Just a little thing, we're good, we're fine, sorry, I'm an idiot, go away. Come back. Go away. Come back. And the thing is, the connection gets stronger with the repetitions. It doesn't get stronger with staying in connection. It's like think about the difference between playing the piano. If you play the piano, it makes music if you tap, 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 tap. If you just put your finger down and tapped it, it's not like an organ where it keeps making noise. It stops making noise. It stops making noise after you just. That's what relationships are like. Relationships are like a piano. They're not like an organ.
But even though we are relational by nature, that doesn't necessarily mean we know how to be connected. And that is the default, right? If we're talking about the small doses or the rupture and repair, it's assuming that there's a baseline understanding of how to connect. And I guess the question would be, how do we learn that, especially if you come from a chaotic home where connection is unsafe, feels unsafe, I should say?
Great question. So the key thing you're pointing out, Bianca, is that that whole connection and reconnecting, everybody's working from their own worldview. And so if you grew up in an environment, let's say you had like great ideal parents, present, attentive, attuned, did everything for you when you're little, and your brain builds this catalog and goes, oh, human beings are awesome. And now I fall in love with some human being and this tone of voice means I love you, and this kind of form of touch means this, and all that other stuff. And that should be you think that that's what they are understanding, but they've come from a completely different world where when somebody gets physically close to me, they're just as likely to hit me as they are to hug me. So I'm not really comfortable with that physical proximity unless I initiate it and I'm in control of it. And the minute you raise your voice a little bit out of frustration, even out of excitement, that's like, oh, that's too reminiscent of, and so I'm backing out. And so the key is but this is kind of where what happened to you is important in a relationship. So if you realize that your partner's coming from a background where, wow, physical intimacy was like scary at times for this person. So then you don't just come up behind them and give them a hug of affection all the time, because you're expecting, oh, this is kind of cute. I mean, I'm loving, and they may go, what the fuck? What are you doing? And you're like, I'm just trying to be affectionate. What's wrong with you? And then it starts off in a little rupture, and because you don't understand each other. So you're absolutely right. This is where you kind of, if you know these things, you can kind of sit down and go, let's talk about this. I come from a background where, if you used your hands in communication, that was appropriate. I mean, I'll never forget this story, and this is sort of a tangent, but I was first learning about these concepts, and I grew up in North Dakota. A lot of Lutheran Norwegians in North Dakota. They are not very emotionally expressive at all. And, in fact, I had a friend, I probably said like 80 words to him his whole senior year. Still one of my best friends. We didn't expect any words. He just nodded every once in a while. Things were good. All right. So he goes away to college, falls in love with a woman from New York who's Italian. And he goes to their house for Thanksgiving. And you can imagine Italian Thanksgiving, hands and raised voices. I went to his house once when I was a senior in high school. 8 brothers and sisters around the table. Nobody said anything at the dinner table. Nothing. All I heard was clinking and cutting. And I was so nervous. I didn't even want to ask to pass the butter or anything for this baked potato that was like, ugh. So I ate this baked potato with nothing on it just because I didn't want to be the only one that talked. Anyway, so he goes to that Thanksgiving, comes back. They're sitting in front of me. He's here, she's there. And I said, how was the break? And he got pale and went, oh my God. And she goes, oh, it was great. And he said, oh, the fighting. She said, fighting? What fighting? What are you talking about fighting? What fight did you have? I didn't see one fight.